Hi, in this video tutorial we're going to take a look at the custom code component. This is quite big, so we're just going to scratch the surface because much of this stuff you do in custom code component is depending on how much you know with just coding in Arduino IDE. So it's not as straightforward as in you just working in Visuino. So you have to know some coding. Without that you're quite lost, but this is just a way to start. The real challenge comes when you have to extract values from different types of variables. That's the tricky part. But for now we're just going to take a look at how to implement the basics of the custom code component. So first I'm going to add the custom code, the actual component. And the thing I really like about this component is that you can implement other sketches and hardware that's not in Visuino as of right now. But we're going to take something basic just to get started. So first I'm going to start Arduino IDE and pick an example. I'm going to take this one. It's a bit smaller. Alright, these sections are corresponding in Visuino as follows. The first part over here is just, in this example it's no code at all, but that is copied into the includes. So just to show how to work, I like to just cut it out, and when I'm done I'm gonna close this file and not save. So I go into includes, paste this part, press OK, and the next part is setup. Now take a look at how I do this. Between those I don't know the exact word for this type of brackets, square brackets I think, you don't copy these two, because these two are going to be added in this section automatically. So just imagine a square bracket over here and one over here, and in between you're going to paste the code. So I'm going to take this code and cut it out. So this is how it's supposed to look afterward. Two of them is going to be left. And press OK, and the last bit is the same thing. Leave two square brackets and go into on execute and paste that code. Alright, now I've got a functioning sketch, and gonna take a quick upload. Alright, uploaded, and connect, and now I don't have any actual hardware connected to it. It's just gonna float in the value between 0 and 1023. So if I touch the board it's gonna interfere and leave some other values. Let's see if I can touch it over here. So it's actually reading an analog in and output it on the serial terminal. So what have we learned from this? Okay, just the way to start. The first part of an Arduino IDE sketch goes into the include. Okay, over here before the setup. This one goes in here. Okay, now it's only it's no actual code. It's just commenting code over here right now, but usually you have all the declarations and what libraries to include. You can also declare the variables you're gonna use, and as well over here you can do the same over here as well under members, but it's gonna affect the program in a couple of ways. You have what's called public variables and private variables, and those are going to be reached from different sections in your code. So if you have a declaration over here for a variable, let's call it test, integer test, and I'm just gonna leave it like that. Now we're gonna set a value 1, 2, 3, like so, and press OK. And I'm gonna add a clock over here, let's say, like so. Bummer. Alright, it crashed for me, so I'm gonna add it again. Integer test equals 1, 2, 3, and end. Press OK. So this variable now, an integer, is going to be a public one within the actual custom code component. So I'm also going to reach it if I add an input. And over here I can type serial print line and test, end of line, and press OK. Upload. Oh, I forgot, it's a big S in serial. Serial print line. Okay, upload. Alright, uploaded. And connect. Just look at one thing over here in includes. Oh, sorry, in setup. Setup is in start. We have the serial begin over here. This is actually needed because it's not going to output any values to the serial terminal. Even though we have it in here, it's not going to output it from the custom code component because that's like a software within itself. The values is going to be triggered by a clock. I forgot that one. The new variable, test variable. Gotta remove that code. Upload. Okay, now we got the value. So once every second it's going to be triggered with the clock, and it's going to be the input code clock that has this code and outputting the value test. Now, why am I showing this? It's actually one really neat thing to remember by this. If we don't have it over here, the actual declaration with the value in, we could use, like, I'm going to take an example from the IDE with Blink, not Blink, but Blink. And there you're going to see the use okay, like this. They use the actual loop over here with only one line of code. The rest is just comments. You don't have to care about this. This is the only thing the actual on execute is gonna use. So it's gonna call other parts of the code, and that you can also do in Visuino in the custom code. So if I'm doing a void new loop, okay, like so. Now it's gonna be like this, and all right, if I now add if I now put this code in here, it's gonna complain when I compile. It's not declarated in the right part of the code, because this should be declarated somewhere in the, let's call it main part of the custom code component. That could be in the includes, it could be over here, and it could be in the members section. So if I've done as you actually should do, you should declare it in here. But if you're working with your own loops in the include section, which I like to do, it's not going to find it, because from over here in the member section it's going to be acting like a private variable, and that is not going to be reached in here. So just take a look at how that would work. Okay, I forgot about one thing. This declaration now is in the main section of the custom code, and the clock generated the output of the declared value. So in this section over here we got the non-changed value, and it's going to output the test value. But what we can do before just outputting it, we could do a try to change this. So we could go to the part, the actual new, okay, no, it's a new loop. I think we call it new loop. Now it's going to jump back to the void we created. So over here we can have a new value. So let's say it's 456. So it's going to go first, it's going to start with a value 1, 2, 3, and then it's going to, when the clock trigger the new code, it's going to jump into this new loop, and then we're going to set a new value, and it's going to be 456. But it's still going to print out only this. We actually need to declare it another time over here. We shouldn't need to do it, but this is the problem I'm trying to show you. It's not reached inside that loop right now. That's what I'm trying to demonstrate. Usually you shouldn't need to declare it twice, but since this is a private now, it's not gonna know it's already declared. So it's not gonna have the new values, I'm gonna have the first declared values, because when the clock triggers the input, it's gonna jump to the new loop, gonna think it's a new integer declaration, and jump back and print the old one. This is the public one, and this is the private one. So if we instead would do it like this, like we did first, 1, 2, 3, and we are not going to declare it in here, in the member section, we're going to leave that one out, like so. Oh, I forgot, we should also remove this declaration, the integer, like so. This is how it actually should work. So now it's going to be a public integer all the way within the component, in the custom code component. So it's going to be reached both in the clock section and in the new loop, the void new loop. So now it's going to be changed value. Instead of 1, 2, 3, it's going to be 4, 5, 6. And that's because it's a public way to see the variable. Okay, it's going to be a bit tricky to know how this works first, but it's necessary if you're going to implement more than one example of Arduino IDE sketches. So it's gonna mix up with 2 or 3 different sketches, like reading a DHT22 component and mix it with Blink, for example. Then you're gonna have to make sections that is calling void loops from within the custom code component, and then you're gonna need to put it inside include. As far as I know, you're gonna need to put them both in the include section. So just remember that where you put the declaration of the value, it's gonna be reachable from different places. So if you put it over here, it's gonna be public. If you put it over here, it's only gonna be reached within the inputs. It's not going to be reached in every new loop you do in over here. Alright, so that's quite important. Now we're going to do another thing. We're going to add an output. I'm going to take an integer, and this is we're not gonna, let's see, we're going to keep that, and we're going to remove that print line, serial print line test. We're going to remove that one, and we're also going to remove the initialization of the serial begin, because now we're going to use the print line from over here, but we need to output the value on this pin. So to do that, we're going to use a send feature. Let's see if I can find the clock over here. Alright, the command for sending the value from within the custom code, we're gonna send it to this pin, and it's called send dot the name of the output. In this case is integer 1, and it's going to be parentheses the value we're going to send, and that's going to be the variable test, and like so. I think I flipped the command. It's going to be integer 1 dot send, like so. And now it's gonna send the updated value 456 instead of 123. So it's gonna work the same way it did before, but instead of sending to the serial terminal from within the custom code component, it's gonna output the value. So now you can reuse this value to other components within Visuino, the Visuino. So you could like take multiply integer, or you could use formatted text integer. I'm gonna take that value. This is my value, %1 0, and take that value over there and output it to serial terminal. And connect, and we got the same as before, but we got it treated by some other components within Visuino. Now you see it's gonna output the value only once. First we started off with 0 because it's not outputted to this component yet, but as soon as we do, we got 456, and the next time the clock gonna send, it's gonna send the same value, and therefore it's not gonna output the same text one more time. It's gonna leave it as is, just as it should be. It's gonna do it different on different components, but mostly it's never gonna output the same value twice in a row. Alright, that's pretty much most of the stuff you need to know within the custom code component for now. You have a few more things within it that you could use. You could also, instead of only outputs integer and analog and stuff like that, you could also use the input. Instead of on data, we could use an input called an integer, for example, and we can skip that one. Could remove it altogether. Inputs, remove the clock, and this time we're going to take we could take a clock again, but we could trigger a random integer component. Random integer. Now we're going to take another part of it to use on data, and we're going to take this part, and the same thing goes with this. We're going to declare it. Let's say this is going to be test, for example. New test, and we're going to take this and we're going to declare it in this section, because I might need to reach from other voids. Otherwise, if I know I'm not going to do that, I could just declare it in the member section. But now we're going to add it over here. New tests equal, we skip that, like that. And press OK. We're gonna take a send, let's see. We're gonna take that in on execute. Integer 1 dot send new test. Okay. And we could clock that one as well. So now it's gonna run the custom code component once every second, just like the clock generator is set to. Now we have to go into the input and also fetch this value that's coming in on the input and put it into another variable. So we're gonna say this new test equals a value, end of line. I think this should do it. Alright, and take a look at if we succeeded. 0, 0, 0. Now it started with the random values. The random values are going to be from negative 1000 to positive 1000. So it's put this into the input over here, and it's going to put the input value to this already declared variable, and this must be declared with this type. And as before, we could add it in the member section over here, like if it was like this and over there, or we could do it as we just did. Let's see, in the includes, and have it over here as we just did. The reason why we might want to do that is if we want to be able to reach it within another void loop. So if I have, let's say I have a blink script with a blink loop or something, I might want to add a value to send into the blink program. Hopefully you learned something. If not, too bad. Just look at the video a couple more times, but it's very important that you know some programming in Arduino IDE to make use of these custom code components, because it's going to be a lot to learn just by solving one problem. You should play around for a bit, try to use other examples from Arduino IDE, just copy it, implement it, and try to make it work. Maybe after that change some values. Just use these examples, try to implement them. Good luck!